ever the popular food item in many households today, it may not surprise you to learn that over 8 billion cans of Spam have been sold since it was first created by the Hormel Foods Corporation. That's about 3 cans sold every 3 seconds. Unbelievable, right? It makes you wonder how this iconic canned meat is made. Beyond that, how did it become so popular that it's now sold in around 44 countries worldwide? Join us as we sink our teeth into the delicious world of Spam. A brief history of Spam. When we look at the pinkish block of processed ham and pork, you may not think much about it past the delicious meal that you're about to have. However, trust us when we say Spam actually has a compelling story. For example, did you guys know that Spam got its name after Hormel held a naming contest? The winner, Ken Dano, an actor and brother of a Hormel executive, walked away with $100. Imagine how much that would be in today's money. That is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Spam history. Long before it became a delicious meal on your plate, Spam could trace its origins to the late 1920s. This was when J. Hormel, the son of George Hormel, returned from service in World War I to take over the company that his father founded in 1891. Now in charge of Hormel Foods, Jay got the idea to sell delicious Spam when he noticed the large pieces of canned meats in delis all over his neighborhood. He figured if he sold these deli meats in smaller packages for consumers. Aside from repackaging the processed pork and ham, J. Hormel also decided to sell directly to the consumers rather than going through the delis that gave him the inspiration for his products. This seems as though this was a great idea from day one, but it actually took a few years for the product to kick off. This is because it took a few years for a company to make things right. Once this occurred, Spam was ready to hit the market in 1937. This was perhaps because Hormel decided it was best for the company to make Spam with mainly pork shoulders and ham. Well, it turns out that he figured things out just in time to make a major impact right before one of the most significant events in modern history. You see, Hormel and Spam arrived right on time to take advantage of the times following World War I and the Great Depression. This was also the time in which refrigerators and conveyor belts were also becoming more important, as these items facilitated the production and storage of large amounts of meat and other food. This proved useful around the time the world became engaged in another global conflict, the one we all know as World War II. This war is important to a lot of things, but for Spam, this war may prove to be integral to the history of Spam. This is because it became an important part of the soldiers' meals as they faced off against Hitler's men. Don't take our word for it. Take the word of the troops who went through about 150 million tons of Spam. If you're enjoying this deep dive into Spam's surprising history, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more fascinating food stories. Funny enough, the soldiers didn't just eat the good stuff. They also found creative ways to use the byproducts of the processed canned meat. For example, soldiers used Spam grease to shine their boots. That being said, the deliciousness of Spam made it so popular during this time that it began making its mark on many parts of the world. In fact, that is probably why it is popular in places such as Hawaii, Guam, and South Korea. Truly amazing, especially as today, Hawaii has been noted to be a major consumer of Spam, as it has been estimated that they consume about 7 million cans every year. How is Spam made? As we've alluded to earlier on, Spam is made up of pork shoulders and ham, salt, water, potato starch, sugar, and sodium nitrite. Once Hormel Foods gets their hands on these ingredients, they begin processing the meat by putting it into the machines that separate the meat from the bones. Once this is done, the pork and the ham is cut into equal-sized pieces that are ground up into large batches. Once the grinded meat is packed up into these large batches that weigh about 8,000 pounds, the mixture is left to cool to the point where it is almost freezing. This lets us store the food safely enough before it is moved to the sealed mixers. This is important because this is where all the air is moved. This needs to happen so that the meat will last longer because it prevents the meat from spoiling or losing its moisture. We don't want any funky or dry Spam straight out of the can, do we? Liking the behind-the-scenes look? Subscribe now. We've got more food factory breakdowns and surprising processes coming your way. This process is reported to take place in 2 main locations in North America, Austin, Minnesota, and Dubuque, Iowa. Within these locations, you'd find that they only need about 13 workers to carry out the process of grinding the pork shoulders and the ham needed to make the Spam. However, these workers are supplemented by several machines to perform these processes. It is here that these meats are grinded into those 8,000-pound batches before they are mixed with salt, sugar, and sodium nitrite among other ingredients. That way, each can of Spam would have the exact same quality and taste. As you guys can see, it takes a lot to make that fantastic can of Spam that you all know and love. As we mentioned earlier, Spam is made up of pork shoulders and ham, salt, water, potato starch, sugar, and sodium nitrite. We must mention that sodium nitrite may be one of the most important ingredients in this blend. This may be odd to many because this is not just about the taste of Spam, but more about its preservation as it helps prevent the growth of bacteria in it. Funny enough, sodium nitrite may also be considered to be one of the most important ingredients in the mix because it is the reason Spam has that distinct pinkish color. To make sure that the Spam is truly safe for consumption, Hormel Foods takes further steps by using a metal detector to scan the food once they are done separating the meat from the bone. Once this is done, the batch is taken to a vacuum mixer where it is frozen like we mentioned earlier. Following this, Spam is filled into vacuum-sealed cans. That way, they are stored in cans that didn't have air before. They are then cooked in large machines that have the capacity to process up to 66,000 cans at once. Awesome, right? Turns out the Spam is cooked for a reason because this helps the company make sure that the Spam is free from harmful bacteria. That way, the Spam can be stored for many years. Once the Spam is cooked, the cans of Spam are cooled for some time. In fact, it has been reported that if these cans are stored properly, they can last for what seems to be forever. However, we need to be careful about that because it's also been reported that they can start going off about 5 years after its sell-by date. After they have cooled down, the can are labeled and shipped out so that they can eventually make their way to your homes. Apparently, this process is so efficient that Hormel believes they sell 3 cans every second. Business seems to be going well. No wonder they have been able to sell 8 billion cans since it was first produced. How popular is Spam? As we mentioned earlier, it's been reported that Spam is sold in about 44 countries worldwide. As such, it is fair to say that Spam has gone far beyond the shores of the United States of America. Spam was able to make its way to places such as Hawaii and Guam. Remember when we mentioned that 7 million cans of Spam are sold in Hawaii annually? Well, Guam seems to be a close competitor as it has been reported that the average per capita consumption there is 16 cans per year. Suffice it to say, that is a lot of Spam. Then again, you can argue that nobody loves Spam more than the people of Hawaii. There, they just love local dishes such as Spam musubi. That dish of cooked Spam placed on top of rice and wrapped in a band of nori rice balls has these people in a chokehold. People in Hawaii love Spam so much that they even hold a Spam-themed festival on Oahu. Known as the Waikiki Spam Jam, the people use this event to celebrate Spam by creating new Spam-themed dishes that are sold in the Massey Street Fair on Kalakaua in Waikiki. Because Spam is sold in almost 50 countries worldwide, it would make sense that there are places other than Hawaii or Guam that are infatuated with this canned meat. Over in South Korea, for example, Spam was brought over to them when soldiers brought it along with them during the Korean War in the 60s. Spam is used to make high-end delicacies that are used as parts of gift sets for the Lunar New Year. As such, over there, it is considered to be a fancy gift that is used to show respect and care to the receiver. Can you imagine that? The food for soldiers has now become a popular special delicacy to the people of Korea today. Human history is truly fascinating. As such, we can see how Spam has become ubiquitous in the homes of many people all over the world today. As popular as this canned meat may seem, there are still those that hold some reservations when it comes to Spam. Spam and health. One of the reasons that people hold reservations when it comes to Spam is due to the questions that they have when it comes to their effects on people's health. To be honest, they may have a good shout here because a look at the ingredient list would show that Spam does contain a lot of fat and salt. In fact, one can of Spam contains 16 grams of fat per serving. Perhaps even more damning, it also has about 33% of an individual's daily intake in one serving. Gosh, that must not be healthy at all. Sure, there are low-fat versions that are being released by Spam today, but you can only imagine the damage it may have done over the decades. In fact, some experts have found a correlation between processed meats like Spam and cancer risks. Some say this can be attributed to Spam content, especially sodium nitrite. Perhaps that is why experts suggest that Spam should be eaten in moderation. That said, the FDA still considers Spam to be safe enough to eat, so who knows? What we can say is that despite the reservation, Hormel and Spam have been able to maintain their level of success so far. Some attribute this to Hormel's supreme marketing department and their ability to move with the times. Right now, we are living in a world that is transitioning towards maintaining organic and plant-based diets. Considering this, we find that Spam has been able to remain on the shelves of our stores because it is affordable to many during these times of economic limitations worldwide. Add its versatility to the mix, as you can use it to make a whole bunch of meals, and you'd find that Hormel will keep a lot of its customers in the years to come. Indeed, they have always worked on keeping these customers. Right now, they are even doing so by coming up with new flavors. Have any of you guys tried their teriyaki-flavored Spam? What about the jalapeno-flavored Spam? I don't know about you guys, but we're sure that it's flavors like these that kept Spam relevant till this day. If anything, it shows that Hormel was able to survive all these years due to their ability to maintain intelligent branding and flexibility. Still with us? Then you're exactly who we make these videos for. Hit that subscribe button and join our curious community. If they continue this, they will remain relevant for years to come. Why don't you go and make that delicious Spam dish right now? You could very well be having a taste of history.